But that was it for us. The next day was the real game changer. Game time was scheduled at 2 p.m. Saturday afternoon up on the chilly open-air stadium. Basically, my job for motivation and inspiration was over, so I went to the game to cheer and watch. There was a tank or I can't remember exactly if it was a tank or just a really large vehicle with a cannon sticking out of it, was parked on the track right outside the end zone. And 6 M1 rifles that we had gotten out of the Vets Club were there, and they were roving around as well, as a group of vet musicians and a quartet of singers was practicing loudly in the locker room right next to Westchester's assigned locker room. The Rams, that was basically the nickname of the Westchester team, would not be able to hear each other think, let alone hear their famous coach give his famous pep talk. Finally, the teams ran onto the field, and cheers from both sides were deafening. A husky, that was our mascot, a beautiful Arctic dog, was paraded up and down the field before our side of the stands by the Bloom cheerleaders, and the Westchester mascot was paraded up and down the field before their side by their cheerleaders. It was a big, curly-horned stud ram. After the first half, when both teams lined up ready for the kickoff, suddenly a high-pitched bleating began. Somebody let the damn goat loose from underneath the Bloomsbury stands, and it ran out on the football field straight at the Westchester Ram. The Ram went totally bonkers and started running at the goat up on his hind legs. Whistles blew, the cheerleaders were dragged. They say it took days to get that Ram calmed down. Anyway, we won. We beat Westchester for the first time in years, fair and square. If you don't count the rifle salutes fired near the intended receivers every time there was a pass thrown by the Westchester quarterback. You could never imagine how hard we were laughing that night down at the Little Red Schoolhouse, and all the different stunts that were spontaneously appeared all week. Spirit was so high after the game that the students marched en masse upon the President's house and demanded that Monday be given off for all the classes, and it was granted. Dean Hope chewed me out properly the following Monday morning in front of the entire student body, assembled joyfully for coffee in the crowded Husky Lounge. I took it like a man, and smiled and shrugged like I was innocent and knew nothing about what he was talking about. Everyone else smiled politely until Ginty erupted from the back of the crowd. Dean, did you ever catch that fucking goat? We started laughing until we were sick, and the dean left the lounge all doubled over. He could never keep a straight face again when he looked at me after that. And of course, here's the final game changer. I want to make a personal note. I'm writing this entire story from memory. I truly do not remember when I had the first impression of Kay Gaglione. I think it was in history class. I remember that I thought she was the most gorgeous woman I had ever seen the first time I noticed her, and that I once asked her to be one of the queens at the vet club for the homecoming parade, and she just laughed at me, and she refused with a twinkle in her eye. She knew better than that. Anyway, the time we spent in class together was polite and friendly, but not especially memorable. So I'll begin with the week I asked her for a first date to a movie on a Wednesday night during the spring of her senior year. We spent the entire time holding hands, watching a movie called The Alamo. It was, and still is, the most intimate moment I ever enjoyed. I asked her to marry me 2 days later, after one single kiss, standing in the doorway of her apartment. That ought to tell you what was in my heart when I met my May Queen. She knocked my socks off. So here's her yearbook. The yearbook, 1961. She graduated a year before me. Frances K. Gaglione, Bachelor of Science, Education, Sunbury, Pennsylvania. Elementary Education Class Secretary, Waller Hall Association Secretary, Senior Representative, Sigma Alpha Eta College Choraleers, Dramatic Club, Senior Gifts Committee, and May Queen, spring of 1961. Well, the truth is it wasn't as cut and dry or as simple and cutesy as all that. Beyond my breakup with Maureen in the middle of that winter, I paid no attention whatsoever to Kay or anybody else on campus. I had had a weird ending to a 3-year Marine relationship. She pulled an unauthorized all-nighter in Philly with one of my Marine buddies that I had the total stupidity to introduce her to. He took her out to dinner, and he introduced her to some strange hills called Texitry. Her mother thought she was with me and called me at my apartment during the middle of the night. I was 150 miles away. She was screaming at me about her not coming home. I was pissed off at him, but I really tried not to blame it on her. I knew that my buddy in the Corps would never touch her, and I trusted him. After all, he was a Marine. Wrong. Reality was that he was a total creep. That was what I did not know. My heart was broken. I tried my best to overlook it, and I joked a lot about it with her. She was a terrific girl, but that did it. I never trusted her after that, so okay, I get it. I was a creep too. I'm not blaming it on anybody. It was just one of those things that young people do that causes things to change. I was definitely ripe for a friendly takeover. Suddenly, I saw Kay Gaglione in a totally different light in class and around the campus with a different view. Her smile made me crazy. I became shy. I was embarrassed about my well-known status as a naughty badass. I was known around campus as a bad boy. That was no secret. And she heard the entire Easter Sunday morning sunrise church service story from a Marine named Gordy Van Auken, who a buddy of mine who was a DI and actually was there in the landing. And he admitted he was on the beach with us that day. He loved telling Kay all the PI stories, but always about me, never him. After we went public as a couple, she was warned by her teachers, warned by her friends, and the college administrators constantly. Oh no, you're not going out with him. I had my head shaved for the May Day event and wore a tomato red sport coat while bold as a billiard. It was the first time I met her parents. I publicly showed my independence from any type of parental authority or political correctness. That ought to speak volumes for my lifelong distrust and personal attitude about political correctness and authority. But I got away with it. In spite of everyone's objections, she said yes. We spent that summer after Kay's graduation in Ocean City. Me, a salty old lifeguard on 14th Street Beach, and she working as the cutest waitress at Bob's Boardwalk Restaurant on 14th Street right behind my lifeguard stand. I ate lunch and snacked there every day. We saw each other every day and lived at the A house together, in separate rooms of course, in the basement all summer. It was heaven. We actually talked all summer and we planned our whole lives together, and we made it to our wedding day without actually doing it, which she insisted on, and I made a promise. As a married day student, my senior year, and she was no longer there, I got straight A's. After I won my only swimming race, I took a first place in the 200 breaststroke during my very last swim meet in the college. It was Bloom's first ever win in the 3 years of the team. My old friends stayed totally pissed off at me for not drinking. And the reason I wasn't drinking was the day we got married, when we went after the church and we went to the reception, I stopped drinking by turning a drink upside down, saying I'll never drink again. She was livid. But we had a model life. Kay was a first grade teacher in Sunbury, Pennsylvania. I was a senior commuter now, day student. I was a student teacher, and I was ready to graduate as a certified high school teacher. Life was absolutely perfect. The next chapter is chapter 12, and it's titled Daddy Little. It started in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, and it started the beginning of my establishment life. Thank you very much.